I was sitting here wrenching on the M3. Love the engine, best engine in the world, by the way. V8 S65, redline above 8,000. Come at me, Ford. Come at me, LS family from Corvette. But it took me back to my thought process on what really started it all off with this vehicle when I did go to buy it. And for me, it was a big purchase after I did my first 2 real estate deals. I said, hey, this is a great way for me to reward myself. You know, I wanted a rear-wheel drive, stick shift, hardtop convertible with a good engine, right? Something that could get the back end out. And it was pretty much this, or a C6 was the only other thing in the budget range that had that target top. But I guess I wanted to be a bit different after working on Corvettes at GM for a little while. And at that time, I'll say optimization versus execution was a big thing. And it's something that I struggle seeing people really battle with in the industry, especially within engineering. A lot of these STEM fields is, at what point do I just put the pencils down, ship what I'm working on, versus try to optimize and get it down to an absolute T? You know, every last 5, 10, 15% along the way. What does that really mean? And what does that matter for me? They'll say that, you know, I created this YouTube account and I walked on there and I started scrolling around just to see what does YouTube give to me, right? I'm just a guy, mid-20s, fresh new account. I don't even know if they knew that information, to be honest with you. What would it auto feed and recommend? And I get a ton of these videos, which is, you know, $1 to $1 million in 30 days, or, you know, this is the key, this is the hack, this is the framework that you've got to follow to go ahead to start, scale, create your first business, climb up in the corporate world, launch a product on Etsy, buy a SaaS, whatever the case may be. And what I'm thinking is, how does everyone have the framework, right? And it kind of goes back to that first video that I made. Go ahead and check that out if you didn't watch it, talking about survivorship bias a little bit of, you know, everyone thinks that their framework is the best framework. And the thing that I'll say to this is, it doesn't matter which one you pick at the end of the day. You got to get in there, you got to fail fast, and you got to fail quickly and iterate upon there. That's what makes everyone successful nowadays. It's not, oh, did I do my 4-step routine or my 6-step routine this time to get it done? That's not really what people focus on and care about. And I'll tell you, there's a great article out there, or poem rather. It's called Life in the Ring. And Life in the Ring is really focusing on life is lived in the ring. You know, the warrior actually battling inside. He's the one with the nicks on his armor, the dirt on his hands, the blood draining down from his face. He's the one that gets to make the comments, that knows how the world really is, and that thrives. Versus the innocent bystander sitting on the side, that's always, we'll say, making a comment. You know, they got something to say, right? They're nitpicking, they don't exactly know what it's like to be in there, and they got something to say. And that is not the kind of thing that we want. You know, that's, I'll say, looking from the outside in, throwing stones at a glass home. The issue is that people are optimizing for a reality that doesn't even exist. It's like the Mike Tyson quote. You know, everyone's got a plan until they get hit with a punch, and then boom, your plan's completely out the window. And what I'll say is this. For my first real estate deal, I had Google Drive full of spreadsheets. I underwrote it 30 different ways. I tried to stress test it as much as I could. It was before I had the help of a lot of LLMs to give me basic, you know, expense ratios, operating expenses, cash on cash targets that I wanted to hit, everything associated there. By the way, let me know if you guys want me to go deeper into detail about my real estate stuff. And at some point, I had to upgrade my Google Drive. You know, I went from 5 gigabytes or something to 50 gigabytes and pay an extra $3 a month now, because I just kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And everyone's saying, well, maybe you got to read a book, buy a course, whatever the case may be. I do love reading a book. You know, I'm trying to get into self-storage now. Bought a great book from A.J. Osborne, which is, you know, the modern book about self-storage investing. It's like 400 pages, a lot of great notes. Slam through it, $6 from Amazon, and you're done. You don't need the $10,000 course. And even if you did, let's say you bought that $10,000 course. On the flip side, you've got nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? Sure, you got some education and you might feel a little bit better about yourself, but I guarantee if you spent that $10,000 launching an e-commerce business and failing, going out and cold calling people and do digital marketing or advertising, trying to generate some leads on a product that you're working on or a company that you want to buy, a home that you want to try to flip, that $10,000 is really spent as an educational investment. And the equity that you have in there, oh, this is my favorite little road here. Let's enjoy it in the BRZ. Listen to the beautiful Boxer, which I don't think anyone's ever said, with it being naturally aspirated. Not bad for a back road of Mexico. By the way, I was working on this car before the M3, and I'm doing my first autocross in it, and I'm going to do a track days in 2 weeks after that. And it's like, okay, I'll do brake pads on it, put on some track pads, and I'll daily it for 2 weeks. Screw it. Generate a bit more dust. I don't care. It's okay. And the car was squealing and grinding, I thought, a little bit while driving. I put it up on the lift, take all 4 tires off, all the brake pads have 80+% life. So glad I did that. Big waste of time. But nonetheless, yeah, the point that I was making is that money that you spent on your education and moving in circles, you could have spent on execution. And even if you lost all of it, which I doubt you will, you'll build some equity in it, whatever the case may be, generate some sales. That is much better spent. Another point too is, I'm an engineer and I've got an engineering background. And for my thesis project for my undergrad, we were trying to correlate fully simulated data to half hardware, half software simulations to full-on vehicle test environments on full hardware. And we were trying to correlate the 3 models with each other, so then that way we could move a lot of the testing, which is often quite expensive and done in the real vehicles or prototype vehicles, which could be millions of dollars, and do it with a little bit of hardware, the embedded controllers, and then just full software. And the issue is that you calibrate the software for the fully modeled architecture to the hardware, and you're not basing it off of first principles in physics, right? You're just copying, okay, how did this hardware handle in these conditions, under these tires with these loads and this amount of horsepower, etc. And as soon as you tweak the software a little bit to say, all right, let's try it with 245 tires instead of 265 tires. Ooh, lovely Mach-E. Love those things, even though they sold like crap. Let's tune that, let's calibrate that, then your software model pretty much completely falls apart and the physics are gone. So you're correlating it to the data. And the parallel that I'll make here is that when you're just learning online and you're not applying or executing any of it, you're just building a model of how did some person do it, right? And that's where that survivorship bias comes in. They didn't have it 100% right. They just got, dangerous enough, educated enough to be in the right position at the right time to then make it happen. Oh, I would have blown up this biker on video too. That would have been a tough dash cam video if I flew on through there. And the third point that I'll make to all this is that when you're doing the research, it's really just a defense mechanism in your head. Now, you don't ever want to jump into anything without knowing what's going on, right? I'm not saying go buy products to drop ship through Amazon or, go invest in the stock market because you think the graph looks good right now and you believe in the company. Do your due diligence, but at some point, the further due diligence and the further analysis that you're doing is just, nice Bentley, is just a defense mechanism in your head to say, hey, I'm doing something, and this makes me feel good. And that's really it. So what I'll say is, it started off with me working on the car, thinking about the BMW, and when I got into this, it was like, holy crap. I just did my first deal, I did the second deal, and then I ended up on a third. I'm like, okay, I'll enjoy it along the way. I'll split up. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. I'll buy the fun car for me. And the first deal sucked. The second deal got a little bit better. And by the third deal, I was finally cash flowing and in a good position to be. And I could have spent that same, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on a course and maybe been at cash flow from day one, but now, congrats, they're all cash flowing. I've got equity in all 3 properties, and that was just pretty much a free seminar, an educational resource for me. You don't need a course, you don't need a framework. A lot of these people online, if they knew it so well, why wouldn't they just apply it and execute it? And it's because any different model could work, any different framework could work. Go ahead and fail quickly, iterate upon it, and then you're done. That's all I gotta say, gang. Do some more driving videos in the future here, maybe some of the autocross, but thank you for joining, and peace.